There's three things in that most important sale. It's company, it's product or service, and it's actually the individual. Why do you believe our product and service is the best for them? Why should they buy from you? If you don't believe what you have to offer as an individual to the world is valuable, they're going to pick up on that.
Welcome back to the Revenue Roadmap, a podcast dedicated to helping family law firms grow revenue, build profit, and have the firm of their dreams. I am Tyler Dolph, CEO of Rocket Clicks, a hyper-focused digital marketing agency helping exclusively family law firms build and grow. We also own and operate Sterling Lawyers, which is a 32-attorney family law firm. So everything we do is built on the fact that we've done it ourselves, and we've built this podcast to help all of you grow your firms. Today, I have Tony Carls, who is the co-founder of our law firm, Sterling Lawyers, and also the president of our agency, Rocket Clicks. And today we are talking about the feeling of salesiness and feeling gross in selling your firm. And maybe it's not you as the owner, but it's your team not wanting to sell and the feelings that come along with that. We talk about the 5 mindset shifts that you need to have in order to fall in love with selling. I really hope you enjoy it. All right, welcome back. Today we are continuing our Selling in a Family Law Firm series. We're going to talk about the 5 mindset shifts to fall in love with selling at your law firm. Tell you, this is going to be a fun one because I love selling. This is like my favorite thing ever, but we know a lot of law firm owners don't. And I believe that, there's a lot of reasons for this. Today we're going to talk about some of the top 5 that we came up with. The first one being that most people don't like selling because it feels manipulative. Give us a little breakdown of this idea.
Well, I think in the legal space, what you don't want to be seen as is inauthentic, something you're not. So, because it's going to definitely impact your reputation, and there's the reputation of salespeople that they are kind of overly pushy, sometimes aggressive, annoying. It's all self-serving, So, applying those 3 traits to any, I don't think it just is just attorneys. If you look at CPAs or even people in the trades, doing HVAC work or roofing or whatever. What they don't want to be seen as is kind of like slinging garbage, like
the used car salesman.
Yeah, they don't want that feeling attached to them. They don't want that persona attached to them. So, I think there's a lot of bad salespeople out there who are pushy and aggressive and self-serving, and I think that's that they're not typically helpful in the marketplace. They oftentimes, where they may get results, they also, I think in the past we've had some of that where, a relationship was created and someone was manipulated into believing we were something we weren't, and we typically see those clients churn out much more quickly. And the reality is, like, that's not what you want for a business. So, in that instance, we had to, have hard conversations and start doing things right. Because if sales is done well, sales should be felt as service, and it shouldn't feel manipulative if what you're doing is clearly communicating your authentic belief that what you're trying to offer the person who's sitting in front of you from a care perspective, this is the safest place for them to be. So, like, that's often how we talked about it at Sterling is, we would do an exercise called the most important sale. And the whole point of that was to get the intake team or the non-attorney sales team to, do you actually believe that this is the safest place for people going through divorce to be? Because if you don't, they're not going to believe you either. Like, they're going to think you are pushy and aggressive and self-serving, and you're not really doing your thing. So, like, what is your belief based out of? So, because if it's based out of, I want to make my commission, I want to make money, people are going to feel that, and they're going to feel the negatives.
Yeah, I was going to expand on the same thing, that one, you have to believe in what you're selling. If you don't believe in what you're selling, it's going to come off as inauthentic. You're going to sell the crappy, van that doesn't actually work and be that used car salesman. But if you believe in your firm ideals and you believe in the fact that your firm is helping these families during a very difficult period in their lives and they need your services because you believe that your services are actually the best services that they could use and require, then you're going to come off as very authentic. And I think for the law firm owner who started the firm, who does the work, who is the attorney, this part's easy. Of course, they believe this narrative, but my guess is it's for the paralegals and the non-attorney sales and anyone else who's not the law firm owner to actually have that kind of same conviction and same belief.
Yeah, I think that's super important because it's in any type of sales conversation, whether it's setting up free consultation or you're in a consult room with a client or we're talking to a client, everybody can feel authenticity. You can't fake that. So, there's a passage in the Bible that says something to the effect of have a reason for the hope that you have. And like, that very much applies to sales. Cause like, if you don't have a reason why you believe what you believe, and like, it isn't rooted in something firm and foundational, like you understand the process and you really believe that this will get the results that they're looking for, you're going to come off as inauthentic because they're going to feel like they're going to feel your lack of conviction. And, I think we had a previous podcast on just the whole concept of conviction. So
yeah, conviction and belief, right? Like
yeah.
What's funny about all this is as humans, we're always selling. We're selling our wives, we're selling our kids, we're selling our coworkers. So the narrative that, oh, well, I'm not in sales is false. Like everyone's in sales. It just depends on what you're selling and whether you actually care about it and believe in it. To that point, I want to move us on to item number 2, which is sales is a learnable skill. It's not a natural talent. And I think some people are like, oh, they're natural salesmen or they could sell ice to Eskimos. And that's kind of not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that being able to have consistent communication and conviction in a family law firm, being able to communicate the work that you're doing is an important skill that all law firm owners and anyone talking to families needs to have.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you the number one issue that we've trained around at Sterling as it relates to performance in the consultation room is not about how much the attorney knows. Typically it's about helping the attorney stop talking. Let the client unburden themselves and then respond with empathy and, EQ so that they feel heard, they feel understood, and they feel like you're going to help them solve the problem. They don't need they're sitting in your office, so they clearly think you're smart enough to sit in your office. Now they need to know if you care. And what does that look like? Like, is your conversation organized or are you all over the place? That's another issue. So do you just kind of wander all over, or do you set the table about here's what we're going to do next hour? Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to talk to. First thing I want you to do is just tell me what your story is. Tell me about your story. And I'm going to ask some questions in between. And then what we're going to do after I hear all of that is we're going to go into what the potential solution is going to look like. And then I'll walk you through what our retainer looks like. Does that sound good to you? And that's just set the table and then follow that pattern. It's not hard.
That's an actual script then.
That's literally if you're going to make it super generic, it's literally what we do. And it's not about communicating from the lawyer to the client how much statutes we've memorized and case law we know and all of those things. It's about having them unburden themselves and their story, pulling out the details that are required so that we understand what's happening from a legal perspective. But it's really about getting them to unburden themselves and then responding in an empathetic way so they feel heard, so they feel seen. Because that's what they want. They're not currently feeling heard or seen. That's why they're getting a divorce. These are typically the easiest consults to move forward from if we can just do a good job of understanding there is a learnable sales skill here, and it's not how much you know. It's how well can you help them feel heard and seen. And people that get the stereotype, oh, you could sell a ketchup popsicle to an Eskimo in white gloves. It's because they're what they're naturally good at is helping people feel heard and seen. So that's the natural talent, quote unquote. But anybody can do that. Most of us do it in our lives. If we have kids, if we have spouses, if we have partners, if we have, team members, this is something that we're already doing. Like, this is just something. Are you bringing it into the consultation room or not?
Right. Yeah, that's a really strong point. And I'm like, obviously that resonates with just being a human. Listen to the other human. We tell our one of our sales guys that all the time. Like, hey, just be a human. You don't have to be a robot. Like, you don't have to read the script word for word for word. If it comes off like a robot, like be a human.
Yeah, like what happened after we gave him that advice? Like, literally the next 30 days. Prior to that, I think he had like one booked appointment in a 30-day period. I think he got 5 in the first week or 4 in the first week after just like going through that simple exercise of like, hey, are you trying to build a relationship or are you just trying to read the script?
Correct. Yeah, it was a pretty exponential and super fun to watch the outcome of that little piece of feedback. As it relates to the like actually building the skill, can you talk a little bit about what you did at Sterling? How did you build a team? Because you guys built a full team of non-attorney sales, right? So you had to build in all the education and build the process. Give our audience a little bit of color on how that went. What worked, what didn't work.
Yeah, so we have what we call Consult College here at Sterling. And basically what it is it's or what it was, this was 3 years ago, so it may have evolved a little bit, but generally what it was a 3 to 6 month curriculum where you would go through each section of the sales process to understand like what it is and why we're doing it, and role play, listen to consults that are good, listen to ones that aren't good, and talk about all of the different potential opportunities that exist in that room, in that setting. So it's really just about kind of teaching the basics and then letting them be themselves. Like, we don't want them to read a script. So our first iteration of this was we leaned too hard on process. We didn't lean, if that makes sense. It wasn't our intention, but that's the outcome. Was several of our attorneys, they just leaned into the process, and then they were like the salesperson you mentioned earlier. They were just going through the script. They're doing it every time. They weren't getting results. It's like, it's because you're not trying to build a relationship. Like, what we gave you was a structure for a conversation. Don't just blindly say all the things. Know where you are. The point of that structure is so that you know where you are in the conversation. That way you can continue to lead the conversation and guide it to where it needs to go. Not so you can repeat it verbatim.
Yeah, 100%. Right. You still got to be a human. And the thing I loved about Consult College, the structure you built, was it was almost like guardrails. Like, just live within this playground, add value, listen, be a human, and as long as we eventually get to the end point, then you've done your job correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our first version was super simple. It was basically, we just taught a 4-box theory. So intro, which is basically table setting; fact finding, which was getting them to unburden their story; presentation, which was here's the different ways we could solve this legal issue; and the close was here's our retainer, here's how it works, here's what the next steps would be if you want to move forward. It wasn't pushy at all. We are in consult room sales. I think it was less than 5% that closed that day. Most of our sales came in the first 14 days. So we had an outbound team that would follow up and make sure they didn't have any questions, or if they did, they got answered, all of those things. But it all felt like service. It did not feel like sales. So
that's awesome. I mean, it really takes us into our third item, which is like a service mindset transforms the sales experience.
Yeah,
I think we've 100%. Seen that time and time again. You talked about Consult College at the law firm. We have what we call like our audit presentation to any family law firm owner that's looking to grow their firm, where we want to be value first, right? So we do analysis of their firm. We give them insights that we've learned at Sterling, at our own firm, And by starting with service, the goal is to communicate that, like, hey, we're on your side. We don't want to just add 1,000 firms. We want to do it the right way in the right order.
Yeah, and it's about creating value. It's not just about extracting value. So, if you only have a what's in it for me perspective in the sales, it's probably going to feel icky. So if you have how are we creating value together? And here's the way that I can help you. And you do it from a perspective of, I don't need your money. Like if you're convicted enough and you believe enough, that the next potential deal is going to be there because you have a good quality product and it's going to work. So you're not selling from a place of fear where you're like, I need the deal so that I can make my budget. You're selling from a place of conviction and you're very persuasive because you're authentic. And it starts to feel more like a coach-mentor relationship because you're giving honest advice, because you're not worried about, if I give them the truth, they're not going to sign, and then I'm kind of screwed. If that's where you are, that likely means you might not believe in your product as much as you should. And you're not doing it from a service mindset perspective. I think when you do, it doesn't feel like sales at all.
Yeah, great point. And I think as you're building your own law firm, right? If you're listening to this and you're a single attorney owner and you do need that next case to feed your family, we get it. We've been there. But as you continue to grow and you build confidence and you build a pipeline of consults and leads, that's going to give you the opportunity to be more yourself, to be able to have those real conversations and know that it's okay. Like if they're not buying you or your firm, they may not be the right fit, and that's okay. You don't need to win every deal in order to be successful.
Yep. Yeah, typically the ones you convince in, they're going to be the ones that churn out and leave you a bad review. Because you probably did some manipulation. You probably over leveraged some tactics that shouldn't be leveraged. And then you couldn't deliver on the service or the promise that you manipulated in. And now you got an issue. Now you have an issue for the next sales opportunity because now you got a bad review. So doing this in a good way is a positive cycle upwards. Doing it in a bad way, you can create really negative marketplace experiences for yourself.
Yep, 100%. And I think, again, back to as you scale your firm, you may do this amazing today as the owner, but as you scale your firm and you add more people that are going to be talking in consults, you have to remind them of these points and why it's so important to sell from a place of belief and not from a place of I have to get this deal or I'm not going to make my commission. So we could probably do a whole nother episode on how you compensate new salespeople to make sure that they're doing it from the right belief standpoint, as opposed to, if I don't make the sale, I'm going to get fired standpoint.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the data points that we found in our, one of the reasons we went to non-attorney sales as a large percentage of our consultations is we found some attorneys, if they were super busy, their conviction went away because they were probably being honest and subconsciously about the fact that right now, I don't believe this is the safest place for you because I'm too busy. And then they just kind of go through the motions of the consultation and it wouldn't go well. And that's the reason why. And that creates a compounding problem because now you need to schedule more consults to get the same amount of deals that you need every month to keep your caseload healthy. But now your calendar is more jacked up. So you're booking things out further, which means you're going to likely close worse. So there's just a compounding effect of doing this poorly, where if you do it from a place of, conviction and confidence, and you understand those trends and those patterns, it can really unlock your potential growth because they do exist. We saw several top performers who it's every 3 months, they close really poorly. And then we dug into their cases and their case cycle that they were on kind of naturally, that's when they were much busier. We looked at their calendar, how many pre-trials and trials did they have and all of that. And it's okay, so they were super busy. they probably felt rushed in the consult because they had other stuff to do. And subconsciously they were telling the client, this isn't the safest place for you right now.
But it's like, I just can't take you on.
Really? Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, that's so interesting. So being, it's not black and white. I think that's whatever we're trying to communicate is that there's so many factors that go into being great at sales and being able to have people believe in what you're telling them. And it's not just, the rubric or the whatever, it's everything. I want to move us on here to our fourth item, which is confidence in sales comes from curiosity, not charisma, which is very interesting. Early in my career, I feel like I lived on charisma and enthusiasm and just being positive, but it really only gets you so far.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier. When you sell or serve a client from a place of confidence and authenticity, you become a coach and a mentor, not a yes person, because charisma is really like, yeah, that's exciting. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be good. Nothing's going to go wrong. This is going to be the greatest. We're going to change the world. Like that's what charisma is, right? Like it's everything's positive. It's like, let's go. Okay.
And really you're setting like the worst expectations.
Exactly. Versus like, one of the things that we teach our team is two concepts. One is do you really understand the dominant buying motive of somebody? And like, that is a real thing that occurs. And oftentimes you don't go deep enough on that. And what ends up happening is you end up trying to talk about something that the client doesn't really care about because you weren't curious enough about really understanding like why is this important to them? Why is this important? Why now? Like what are all the things that got us to where we are today that make you want to move forward in this life transition? The second thing we really teach our team to understand and discover with a client that most salespeople avoid is their real objection. So everybody has one real objection, and they only have one real objection.
And it's never price.
And typically they're not going to tell you, and it's almost never the price, but they'll always say it's the price. And oftentimes when they say price, what they're actually saying is, I can't afford for this to not work because I can only do this once.
Right.
I
can't
one time.
Twice.
Exactly. So if I don't believe you can help me, I don't want to work with you. So now this is a price issue because I can't pay for this twice. But every potential person that is buying an idea, whether that's a service from a law firm or a service from our agency or an idea internally, there's typically one major objection. Like, what is that? And like your job as a good salesperson is to understand that, because now you're selling and serving from a place of true understanding, not just what you think they need. You're actually like, you understand the real why it's important to them, why now is important. And you understand like, what's their real objection around? Is it the money? Is it the time? Is it the product or service that they have a concern about? So once you understand those things, now you can actually have a real solutions oriented conversation versus let me try this sales tactic on you.
Yes, 100%. I have found over and over, it is not about the tactics. It's back to being curious. It's asking the right questions. It's knowing that, like, especially in family law firms, like you're dealing with a highly emotional person who is going through a difficult period, who needs to be heard and seen, and needs to feel the value. And so if you come in and you're too rigid or you don't care, they're going to pick up on that. Finally, our final point being the biggest obstacle is your own mindset, which I think is really interesting and something that we've seen over and over and over again as we're teaching additional salespeople here at both of our businesses. Confidence is key, and it comes from a lot of different areas that we've talked about. But if the mindset coming in is, well, I'm not in sales, or I don't like sales, or I'm going to suck at this, you're almost setting yourself up for disaster.
Yeah, or if you're not actually convicted in your product or service, you're setting
right.
Like maybe the like things you mentioned aren't even true, but you're like, yeah, I think what we do is okay. that's what the person across the table is going to hear from you, even though you're not going to say, yeah, I think my stuff's okay.
Yep.
They're going to hear that from your conviction or lack thereof. So I think mindset is a huge thing. That's why we do that exercise with our team at least once a year. Sometimes I think it's every 6 months that we typically do it. And it's just like, what's the most important sale in sales is selling yourself. That here are the reasons why I believe in the company, why I believe our product and service, and why I believe you should buy from me. Because I'm also part of this process. So I think mindset's really important because you can pick up on it. When we were talking about our salesperson that was kind of just running through the script, when he was there, kind of not getting any bookings and not getting any traction, his mental state was lower. He didn't have belief. He had a lot of self-doubt in himself. So, in that small tweak on, are you building relationships? Now he's on cloud 9. He's excited. You can just tell he's different. He's lighter. So it's because he feels like he's having an impact and he believes in what we're doing. So it makes all the difference in the world.
A couple points there. The thing with him in particular was he had to see it. He had to see it in real life in order to believe it. And so I sat every afternoon, we'd sit together and make calls together. And once he saw it in action, he's like, oh, I can do that. And then once he did it, and as I was watching, his eyes lit up. And so you could see that belief actually take hold and happen. To your point about watching your sales team, one just note or tip I have is that if you have a sales team at your firm and you have a very consistent person who's always, crushing it month after month, and then you see a dip in their performance, likely it could be a belief issue. Maybe something changed in the culture, maybe something changed with the firm offering and the pricing or whatever it is. They need to be sold again on you and your firm and your offering. And so take them aside and make sure that they're totally sold and that they believe in what they're selling. And I bet you anything, their performance will go back to normal.
Yeah, even on that, it might not be, maybe you didn't change anything about your company or your product, but there's 3 things in that most important sale. It's company, it's product or service, and that's actually individual. So if I was doing this with you, Tyler, it would be, why do you believe Rocket Clicks is the best place for family law firms to be? Why do you believe our product and service is the best for them? And why should they buy from you? And that last one, maybe something's going on in your life, or maybe you're not able to work out anymore in the morning. Maybe something else has occurred. And now your belief in yourself is lower, and that's coming out in the sales process because that happens. If you don't believe what you have to offer as an individual to the world is valuable, they're going to pick up on that.
It's going to come out whether you wanted to or not. Yep. I've been there. It's happened.
So,
yeah, it's so good. Tony, obviously love talking about this stuff. And I think it's really helpful for you attorneys out there who are listening to this, who are building a sales team, to know that it's not an overnight process. It's not black and white. We're dealing with people stuff here. So we have to be able to follow the process, but you also got to be a human. If you found this episode valuable, you will love our next episode, which is on the power of prediction in sales, building a strong pipeline, being able to understand the entire sales process. Make sure to check it out here, and we will see you over there.